Can anybody beat Mitt Romney? What is Ron Paul up to? And what happened to John Huntsman? Answers to these questions and more in today's video crystal ball. Mitt Romney has always been the favorite for the Republican nomination. Given what he's done in Iowa and especially New Hampshire, he is somewhere between a substantial favorite and a prohibitive favorite. Now, even prohibitive favorites sometimes lose a contest. They don't win every one of them. At least that's been the history in the Republican Party since 1976. Given that, South Carolina is a place where possibly, if his opponents are smart, they could beat him. But in order to be smart, someone's going to have to step aside, or some conservative is going to have to emerge as the clear anti-Romney. The real question is what South Carolina voters want to do. They've had a perfect record of picking the Republican nominee since 1980. They're very proud of that record. Will Palmetto State voters want to throw that away by picking a candidate other than Mitt Romney? Because it's becoming fairly obvious that Romney will be the eventual nominee. The fat lady hasn't sung, but I see her gargling in the background. The Republican establishment does not like Ron Paul. They don't like his libertarian views on social issues. They don't like his isolationist views on foreign policy matters. The problem for Republicans is he's getting between a fifth and a quarter of the vote and drawing disproportionately from the young voters that Republicans need to pump energy into their general election campaign. So Republicans will have to find a way to bring Ron Paul into the fold and to bring his voters into the fold for the general election. It's entirely possible that Ron Paul is going to stay in all the way to the convention. He's going to get to that convention with a mess of delegates, and that could be problem number one for the Republicans at the national convention. In many respects, John Huntsman has run the worst presidential campaign of this cycle. He has been, in a matter of just a few months, the most liberal Republican, the most conservative Republican, and a moderate Republican. It's difficult to know what his actual campaign stance is, and it's clear from the voter profile of his supporters in New Hampshire that he is drawing mainly from independents and even some Democrats who aren't going to be voting in many of the other Republican primaries. His disappointing third place showing in New Hampshire suggests strongly that he has no place to go. He's not going to be the Republican nominee, which will be probably a major disappointment to the news media. He is the media's favorite Republican candidate for president. They certainly tried to help him in New Hampshire. They did everything they could to call him the hot candidate to give him additional momentum, and it simply didn't work. And now we'll have a few Twitter questions, which have been submitted by our followers on Twitter. The first question comes from Tammy Purcell. Why are the 5 other candidates bothering to stay in the race? Well, Tammy, first, it's their First Amendment right. It's obvious that they have relatively little chance of actually winning the nomination. But look at it from their perspective. Several of them have millions of dollars left to spend in the campaign. They can stay in and hope that lightning strikes despite the odds. They have maybe a 5% chance of becoming the nominee and president. If they get out of the race, they have 0% chance of becoming the nominee and president. And for these candidates, this is their one and only presidential contest. Other than Ronald Reagan, has there ever been a Republican candidate who defeated a sitting Democratic president? Great trivia question. The answer is Benjamin Harrison, who of course in 1888 defeated Grover Cleveland for his second term, but Cleveland got his revenge in 1892, coming back to defeat Benjamin Harrison. Does Ron Paul stand a chance one-on-one in Virginia against Romney? In a word, no. The establishment in Virginia will be strongly pro-Romney. They already are. They're hoping that Romney picks the incumbent Republican governor, Bob McDonnell, to be his running mate. So McDonnell has an interest. The lieutenant governor, Bill Bolling, has an interest in seeing McDonnell become the running mate and vice president so he can ascend to the governorship and stave off a challenge for the Republican nomination for governor from Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli. So the forces that run the Republican Party and often the Republican primary in Virginia have lined up behind Mitt Romney. That's not to say that Ron Paul won't have substantial support from places in Virginia, but it's not going to be enough for him to win. Will Condoleezza Rice be the Republican candidate for vice president? Here we are already talking about vice presidents. We probably have 6 months of speculation about this coming, so you might as well steel yourself. In the case of Condi Rice, I think the chances are quite small that she will be the VP candidate. She's enjoying her venture back into private life. She enjoys her position at Stanford. I don't think she would be inclined to accept even if asked. I doubt she's asked because it would inevitably resurrect a lot of questions about the Iraq War. That's not something that the eventual Republican nominee will want to process for the general election. And the final question comes from Sonny Gerard. Do you see Hillary running as Obama's VP choice in 2012? Sonny, not in this universe, maybe in some parallel universe, but in our universe, Joe Biden will continue to be the vice presidential candidate for Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton will not be replacing him. Thanks so much for all the questions that you sent us this week, and I hope you'll keep them coming on Twitter. We have a packed 10 days of politics, and I know all of you will be watching, as we will be, as we head to the January 21st South Carolina primary. We look forward to analyzing it with you.